The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. I bought this book because of the title, of course. I mean, it's not like there's anything easy about hard things, but if there's a particularly hard thing about them, well, I want to know about that shit. I also noticed it's written by a fellow Jew, and I would say a hip-hop fanatic as well, but at this point, I'm not sure I like hip-hop as much as I make it. Another reason is that Mark Zuckerberg, another fellow Jew, and kind of hero of mine, said, "For anybody interested in growing, building, or leading a great company, this book is an incredibly valuable resource and a funny and insightful read." So that's why I got this book. The summary. The author begins by explaining that self-help books have a tendency to introduce ideas without explaining the fact that there are no concrete recipes to turning those ideas into reality, or dealing with the difficulties, especially that come with them. And by concrete, I mean concrete. He quotes hip-hop songs throughout the book, which adds a unique branding touch to its roots and reasoning behind the story he tells in it. He begins by telling some stories from his childhood, from which were the most important lessons he needed to learn for better outcome of the situation in later chapters. He talks about his company Loud Cloud, and I think a couple other business ventures, and he also mentions Bill Campbell. I learned about Bill Campbell recently in Measure What Matters by John Doerr. After hearing his name repeatedly mentioned throughout other books in business, there's a book about him that I still haven't checked out yet called The $1 Trillion Coach. Why is he a $1 trillion coach? Because he's not just any business coach. Bill Campbell to business is like Tim Grover to basketball. Bill Campbell has coached Steve Jobs from Apple, Jeff Bezos from Amazon, and Eric Schmidt from Google for what, like 14 years? The author learned from this coach of some of the greatest companies on the planet. There are two kinds of people you need in your life. There are people you need to call when something good happens. You know these people. If you're watching this, chances are you have at least one person in your life who's definitely like that. It's the type of person who gets excited for you. The type of person who's more excited for you than they would be if it happened to them. The second is the type of friend you can call when things go horribly wrong. Bill Campbell was both of those friends. A lot of chapters 1, 2, and 3 is based on his experience running Loud Cloud, and despite all the odds, not letting it go bankrupt. He and the rest of his team for 8 years put their souls into a business that ended up being sold for $1.65 billion. Another reason I got this book is that if anybody has created a $1.65 billion business, I don't know, I feel like it's worth hearing what they have to say about what they learned. That's usually a good reason I get a lot of these books. He hired all the best people, but he hired all the best people he could find. I think he said it had, 477 employees? He did that for every employee. But they went from founding to public to sale. He didn't feel like doing something just like that again. It would have felt like a waste to do something entirely different. So he had an idea to start a venture capital firm, which he talks about later in the book. But shit gets real for the listener after that. This is where the real management lessons kick in, where he gets into the nitty-gritty portion of, okay, here's how you can apply this and why it's important. Because, I lived these things, but a story can't do much more than anchor you and get you ready, like prime you into really preparing yourself to learn that. For instance, a 35-year-old man came to see my friend's brother. The man looked awful. His eyes were hollow and his skin was ashen. The young doctor knew something was wrong, but he couldn't figure out what. So he brought an elderly colleague to run a diagnosis. The more experienced man had sent him on his way. The old doctor then turned to the young doctor and said,
"He's dead."
The young doctor was flabbergasted. "What are you talking about? He just walked out of here alive." The older doctor replied,
"He doesn't know yet, but he's dead. He had a heart attack, and when people that young have heart attacks, their bodies are not yet pliable enough to recover. He won't recover. He is dead."
3 weeks later, the patient died. And so Ben said that he felt Bill, the $1 trillion coach, was telling him though that he was walking around trying to get the deal done. And while he was doing that, he was already dead and he didn't really know it. Only the best of friends that you could have could break you news like that. Ben dropped the knowledge that if you are a startup CEO, you shouldn't bet on just the odds. You'd be surprised how many startup CEOs try to bet on just the odds and just kind of fail. But you must believe that there is an answer and you have to find it no matter what. But Ben found the answer. He next went on to talk about the importance of creating a company culture that rewards telling people higher up about problems, and the problem itself with this saying, "Don't bring me a problem if you can't bring me a solution." Personally, I agree with him. I also feel like if you can't communicate clearly the fact that you are coming to a higher up because you have a problem and you don't know the solution but you do want the solution, then I think your intentions are as clear as your communication of them, which is great. And this is a skill that so many people have yet to master, like even myself, but listening to books like this has helped me seriously to get better at it over time. My great uncle started a company that now brings in millions and millions of dollars a year. And the last time I sat down and spoke with him before he passed away, he recommended me a book called Startup Nation about why the rate of successful startups is as high in Israel as the rate of failed startups is in America and lots of other countries. And one of the reasons is that the culture of Israel is where many of its people have plenty of what we like to call chutzpah, which is basically balls. I mean, you have to go to the military when you're 18. There's not really an option. But maybe that's why a lot of Jews are so good, stereotypically of course, with business and money. Sure, there are plenty of Jews who suck at business and money, but like why the stereotype exists. Now, it's probably not that, but if there are correlations between these things, I wouldn't be surprised. I hope not to come across as biased by saying that. And the reason I say all of this is that Ben has an extremely straight talk writing style. And listening to the way he explains things and insights of this audiobook really made me feel like I was being coached through some sort of business crisis. Because like they would do in Israel, it seems like he wants to put how much he thinks you should focus on your success before worrying about making you feel like you're just doing the wrong thing. If you are doing the wrong thing, you know, he tells you what to do instead and how to do it. When it comes to lying in a company, because so many companies are like they're like drenched with lies across the corporate culture, he concludes that our hypothetical CEO in America, not Israel, will really only take action on the positive indicator, but only look for alternative explanation as to the negative indicator. If this sounds too familiar and you find yourself wondering why your most trusted employees are lying to you, he says they are not. They are lying to themselves. But if you believe it, he also says that you are lying to yourself. He talks about the importance of training, how it can be one of the greatest reasons you succeed, and how a lack of it can be one of the greatest reasons you fail. Concluded with saying you're too busy to train is like saying you're too hungry to eat. He talks about hiring, how to hire, who to hire, what to look for to fill what position, when, why, what, for what purpose, and how to evaluate the beginnings of their performances for long-term purposes. He talks about his decision to keep profanity in the company, but how to go about setting rules for it for yourself and your own, from using one word because you're angry about something versus, you know, crossing the line of sexual harassment. And it's like one of those things is okay. It's very clear which one isn't in 2019. He concluded this by saying that sometimes people don't need a solution, they just need clarity. This book really does talk about the hard thing about hard things. I've listened to plenty of business books, and few of them have talked so in depth about the actual smaller things that add up to make or break a company. If they do, they're not things like how to go about giving people raises or titles. On top of this, even if that's not true, this book gives you far more recent examples. Lots of examples in the world of these things today can be extracted from more historical books like The Richest Man in Babylon, or 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, and The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Basically just older books that lots of people in business today are completely obsessed with. There's something he said about two different types of CEOs that he learned from Bill Campbell, of course, the peacetime and wartime CEO. When Eric Schmidt stepped down as Google CEO and founder Larry Page took over, lots of the news coverage focused on Page's ability to be the face of Google, since Page is far more shy and introverted than the gregarious and articulate Eric Schmidt.
But I know the struggle, Larry. Believe me, I do.
Contrary to popular belief, while an interesting issue, this analysis misses the point. Schmidt was much more than Google's frontman. As Google's peacetime CEO, he led the greatest technology business expansion in the last 10 years. Larry Page, in contrast, seems to be heavily determined that Google is going to be moving into war, and he clearly intends to be a wartime CEO. This was a profound change for Google and the tech industry. Then he goes way more into examples and distinctions of these two different CEO types, and also what a CEO even does. I mean, isn't that up to them? It also doesn't seem like simply leading the company. According to this guy, One does not simply lead a company, okay? He goes really deep into that. It depends on so many different things. If this book were a whole, there would be no dust, there would be no water, there would be no mud. It would just be hard, cold dirt. Because this is hard, cold information delivered raw. And I would honestly say, like, it's probably the most insightful management book I've ever listened to. I wholeheartedly mean that. The quotes, these are pretty good. Until you make the effort to get to know someone or something, you don't know anything. Leadership is the ability to get someone to follow you, even if out of curiosity. This is probably my favorite. Flowers are cheap and divorce is expensive. There are two emotions you experience during a startup: euphoria and terror. I found that lack of sleep enhances them both. The key to an emotional discussion is to take the emotion out of it. 1% of nothing is nothing. Move fast and break things. Mark Zuckerberg said this one. The only thing that prepares you to run a company is running a company. Direction 1. I highly recommend this book if you are looking for great lessons in business growth, scaling, management, and communications. I highly do not recommend this book if you are simply looking for encouraging words of rah-rah motivation. Because when you truly have heard enough of those, if I had to guess, that is when you will be ready to either stomach a book like this one, or know whether or not it was all worth it. AKA give up. Direction 2. If you liked this book, I recommend Measure What Matters by John Doerr, where he talks about one of the greatest reasons, everything about it that you need to know. I mean, this guy kind of invented the reason for the massive successes of Google and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, with a foreword that's written by Larry Page, one of the co-founders and richest people in the world, who, by the way, really rarely ever writes forewords. I also recommend Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke, a professional poker player who came up with a fizzy concoction on how to make decisions in life in general, where there are no clear answers. And it involves research that far exceeds that of just simply her poker experience. And I also recommend Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Graziosi, because I've heard similar things related to people skills. When it comes to the things that Ben Horowitz talks about in this book that revolve around the acquisition of people skills and communication, the areas of Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Graziosi that cover that I found to be just a little different. But different enough that if you get them, you're definitely gonna get a little bit more out of them than just what you got in this. As well as his great storytelling. The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. There's a link to it in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books I mentioned in this video, if you're interested in those too. If there are any other books you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments. If you checked out this book, what did you think? Did you like it? But I want to spark some dialogue down there and get to know my audience a little. And hey, make sure to leave a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already. If you could turn on that little bell to receive a notification every time I drop a new video, that will mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.